If you're thinking about making a move to Georgia, there are things that you must know. I'm not talking about which areas are better than others. This channel is filled with things like that. You can go back and look at all of my videos to learn more about the areas. But today, we're actually talking about the logistics of moving to Georgia, the cost of moving to Georgia. What are the things that you need to make sure that you know in order to get you and your family here in the most convenient, most economical way? Today, we are going to be covering those little nuances that make moving to Georgia either a huge pain in your butt or nice and easy. All right, so let's talk about the number one most important thing that you have to do when you move to Georgia is you have to establish residency. That's that first domino in a series of dominoes that has to be knocked over first. So what establishing residency means is you typically have to have moved here. You have to have signed a lease on an apartment or a home, or you have to have a document showing that you have purchased a home in the state of Georgia. Some additional proof of residency could be utility bills, mortgage bills, things like that. Now, let's talk about getting your driver's license. Okay, so you've got 30 days from the date that you establish residency to get that Georgia driver's license. And that's the second domino in this because you need a Georgia driver's license to do a few other things. So again, get that within the first 30 days. Now, before you leave your home state, make sure that your driver's license has not expired because it's going to be very difficult to get a new driver's license in Georgia if you are coming from a state where you have an expired driver's license. Now, here are some things that you're going to need. You're going to need your out-of-state driver's license. You're going to need a proof of identity like a passport or a birth certificate. You're going to need your social security number, 2 proofs of Georgia residency. For the purposes of this video, we're going to assume you're going to be purchasing a home. So that's going to be your settlement statement from your closing, and a utility bill would be the 2 easiest things to bring. And you've got to bring your credit card to cover the fee of $32. That's going to last for 8 years. So make sure you look good for that picture because it's sticking with you for 8 years. Here's the tip though, you can make an appointment. If you go on dds.georgia.gov, that will take you to a searchable area where you can put the county that you live in and find the most convenient address that you can go to get your driver's license. And that is going to save you time rather than just walking in and hoping there's not a line. Next up, your car. All right, so Georgia also gives you 30 days after moving to register your vehicle. Now, the car registration part can be a source of stress, and that is because Georgia does things a little differently. In a lot of states, maybe even the one that you're moving from, you might pay an annual registration fee. But in Georgia, we don't do that anymore. You pay it one time, which means that it's a pretty hefty fee. Now, the current ad valorem tax as of this video is 7% of your car's value. So if your car is valued at $30,000, then you're going to be looking at paying a $2,100 ad valorem tax to register your car. So don't be surprised by that. Now, what you're going to need to register your car is you're going to need your title or your loan paperwork. You need proof of insurance, obviously. You need a Georgia driver's license, so you got to get that done first. You need to pass an emissions test. Now, emissions are county by county, but let's just assume that you're going to need one unless your car is new within the last 3 years or it's older than the 1990s. You can pretty much bet you're going to have to get an annual emissions test. The good news is you can find these on just about any corner, depending on where you're moving, and it's about $20 to get one. Pro tip: do not freshly fill up your gas tank before you go get your emissions test, and do not come on an empty tank. Try to hit it about mid to 3/4 of the way full. Don't ask me how I know that. So that is how you get your car registered. Now, instead of spending money, let's talk about how we save money for just a second, and that's with your homestead exemption. So once you've purchased a home, you now qualify for a statewide homestead exemption that you can take advantage of the year after you purchase. This tax break can save you thousands of dollars every year. And depending on which county you're in, if you qualify for the senior exemption, which typically starts between 62 and 67, you might be able to wipe out almost all to 100% of the school tax portion of the property tax bill. So this is a really big savings to you and something to pay attention to. So let's say you're purchasing your home in 2025. Starting January of 2026, you are eligible to qualify for homestead exemption. If you're closing with me, I'm going to remind you in January that it's time to file, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to file. Every county is different. The file deadline is April 1st of every year, so you're going to want to make sure you definitely get it done, or else you will see an increase in your property taxes. Sticking with taxes, let's talk about how income tax works if for some part of the year you're living in another state and then you move to Georgia and you're receiving income while obviously you're living in whatever state you're living in. If you've lived in 2 states in 1 year, you are going to have to file 2 state returns. So first you want to file your old state's return, and then you want to file Georgia's return using Form 500. Then you're going to report the income that you earned while you were living in Georgia. Now, one of the great things about moving to the Peach State is that we have a flat income tax rate. As of this video, it's 5.75%. You might even get a credit for taxes paid to other states. So talk to your CPA about that. Now let's go back to talk about registering for things. So one of the first things that you're going to want to do besides registering your car is going to be registering to vote in Georgia. You want to make sure that your voice is heard in Georgia elections, just like your last state. Now it's so easy to register to vote. You can do it online at registertovote.sos.georgia.gov, or you can register when you get your driver's license, and they'll ask you if you want to register to vote. That's the easiest way to do it right there. Let's talk about another important registration, and that's going to be registering for public school. Here's a checklist of everything that you need to register your kids for school. Now, this is also county specific. Some counties will just require that you have a pending purchase and sale agreement, or you're under contract to purchase your new home. You can use that to register for school. Other counties require that you be closed on the home. So think about that. School starts every year at the beginning of August. So if you're closing on your new home after the school starts, you're going to want to reach out to the county at that local level and talk to them about how you can get your child registered when you have a pending contract but not a closing yet. They're really great about working with parents. You will need proof of residency. Again, that's going to be a settlement statement or, possibly a purchase and sale agreement. You will need your child's birth certificate. You're going to need their social security card. You'll need a specific immunization record that you can get from your current pediatrician's office. That's specifically going to be Form 3231. And you'll need a health screening. That's Form 3300. That's required for kindergartners and any student that's moving from out of state. You can get that at your local pediatrician's office, or you can get it at a local health department. Here's a few other tips for you, things that you might be surprised about. Maybe you're not surprised, but you should know. First of all, gas. So gas is deregulated in Georgia. That means that you can pick whatever gas company you want. So when you are moving to Georgia, you want to shop around for the lowest price per therm. So a website that I like to use and refer my clients to research all of the natural gas providers and what their different costs are is going to be on the State of Georgia Public Service Commission's website. You can choose to pay a fixed fee because obviously your gas is going to go up in the winter months. And if you're the kind of person that likes to kind of lock something in and just kind of have a predictable gas bill every month, then you might want to choose that. Others will float. As soon as you identify the area that you want to live in, go ahead and join those local Facebook groups. There's local moms groups, local dads groups, and just local groups. Go ahead and join all of them. That's a fantastic place to ask local residents of that little town or neighborhood that you're looking in, hey, who do you guys use for gas right now? Who do you use for trash? Can you refer me to local pediatricians? Do you have any general practitioner recommendations? These are great resources for hyper local recommended providers. Also, know your HOA rules. If you're moving into a neighborhood that has an HOA, go ahead and as soon as you go under contract, get a copy of the covenants and restrictions so you understand what you can do, what you need to get permission to do, and what you cannot do. Now, another thing, it is pollen season here in Atlanta. So pollen season begins beginning of April and it lasts pretty much until the end of April. So just make sure to fill up on your Zyrtec and your Allegra and things like that, but you'll get used to it, I promise. Let's flip over to pets for just a second. So rabies vaccinations are required here in the state of Georgia. There are some other county by county regulations. So you're going to want to just make sure that you Google, Cobb County pet regulations, things like that, so you can understand more about what's required. Something else that can confuse people when they move to Georgia, specifically the Metro Atlanta counties, is how trash and recycling works. So in some areas, the city, like city of Decatur, for example, your trash and recycling goes through the city. In other areas in Metro Atlanta, you get to pick who your trash and recycling company is. So know that before you move into the area. That's something easy to find out from the current owner of the home you're purchasing, or just ask your realtor like me, we'll know. So internet providers is another thing that you've got the option to pick. So if you're working from home and it's really important for you to have access to the highest speed, the most gigs, things like that, then do your research ahead of time, especially before you move way out into the burbs or way out into a rural area where maybe only Starlink is available out there. School buses is another question that I get asked about a good bit. So how does the bus system work here? So for public schools, unless you live within about a mile of the school that you're attending, school buses will be available to pick your child up, take them to school, and bring them home. And if you're within a neighborhood, there's either going to be one stop at the beginning of the neighborhood, or if the neighborhood is more than a street or so, you're going to have multiple stops within that neighborhood. So your child could be picked up right in front of their house, or they might have to walk, maybe 5 to 10 houses down the road to get picked up. The last thing I'll mention is primary care doctors. When you move to Metro Atlanta, you are going to have access to the best healthcare, some of the best healthcare in the Southeast, and you're going to have a lot of options. Getting in with a new primary care doctor can be a little challenging if there's a long wait time. So as soon as you know where you're going to be moving, go ahead and hop on those Facebook groups or ask your realtor, who do you recommend as a primary care doctor, and go ahead and get on that list. Because if there's a 6-month waiting list, you want to go ahead and get on it as soon as possible so that when and if you need them, you're going to be further up the list. So guys, moving doesn't have to be stressful. I'm here to make sure that you know as much as you can before you move into Georgia. I'm here to tell you the pros, the cons, the things that you want to know, the things that you didn't even know that you wanted to know, but you need to know. That's my job. So if this was helpful, please click like, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're planning to move to the state of Georgia sometime this year or next year, go ahead and reach out to me. And until then, I'll see you in the next video.